he was like, oh my gosh, my back pain is so much better. I was like, that's just one session, wait for the next ones.
Hi guys, welcome to Pilates with Hannah, and today I'm so happy to be here with Jaqui, a therapist from South Africa, and I'm so happy that Pilates brought me another chance to meet the Pilates enthusiasts around the world. So let's have a talk. Hi Jaqui.
Hi, I am ready.
So can you tell us about your Pilates journey?
Well, I've actually just recently finished the training.
Yeah.
But I started practicing Pilates quite a while ago, about 4 years ago, which is around about when I started studying. Oh, actually, it was about halfway through my physiotherapy studies. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It was a very intense 2 weeks of training, but I have to say that it's made me feel a lot better, and it's opened up my mind to new possibilities of things to do in Hanoi and ways to help people, because it's quite difficult to practice physiotherapy here in Hanoi. So this is another way for me to help people and still stay true to like my line of work. Yeah.
You said that you start to do Pilates since you start your degree. So is there any reason, like specific reason, or that you start to do it, or just because like you just like it, or like people around you like do it a lot, or?
Well, South Africans are quite sporty and healthy people in general, or at least the people that was around back in South Africa. And training in physiotherapy, there's a lot of emphasis around like keeping active, exercising to improve your health, and like rehabilitation after injuries. So for me, it was kind of like a way for me to find out like, would this work for me? And obviously a lot of the lecturers would say, do Pilates helps you. So I was like, well, I may as well give it a try and see what they're all talking about. It does work. I've had multiple injuries over the years. I was a gymnast when I was younger, so I had lots of injuries. And when you're little and you try to do Pilates, it's not as interesting as when you're a bit older. So I thought I would give it a try again when I got to university, and I really started enjoying it.
So can you tell me about what the most helpful thing that come from Pilates?
I think for me the most helpful thing is like how they focus so much on quality and not quantity, because I even had a little bit of like a misconception of, you need to do more to get stronger. And as soon as you actually like take a step back and you start doing slower movements and more controlled movements, you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually really hard.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's like, for me it was a nice way to like, it helps me to incorporate into physio as well, to tell people who are injured, like, don't worry, slow down. It's not a race, it's not how many you can do, it's how well you can do it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so you said that it's helped a lot with your physio work. So how is it different between doing physiotherapy and Pilates?
Pilates is more like an add-on for physiotherapy, so it's a nice way to help with like end-stage rehabilitation or people who have like long-term injuries, because a lot of the time, especially with our day and age, everyone's sitting a lot. In Hanoi, everyone's on scooters, and like people aren't as active as they should be. So they lose a lot of like their postural control, their core support, and just by doing Pilates, it helps to like get your body back to having that like stable base to work from. So these injuries that like they keep getting pain from, but it's not actually hurt anymore, like it really helps with those longer term injuries as well, and just keeping people like preventing any further injuries. So it's, like I said, it's a nice add-on to physiotherapy. Physiotherapy can go a lot more in depth into all of the injuries but it's a nice way for like when you're recovering from injury to help speed up the process and prevent you from getting injured again.
Do you have any specific story that like you help someone with like some kind of injury, like using Pilates and physio?
Well, like I said, I've only just finished my training, but trying to start with my boyfriend. He's actually got the same injury that I had from driving the scooters too much. And it's just the joints between your sacrum and your hips, it's too unstable. And so it causes a lot of back pain. And I think a lot of people actually suffer from it, but they think that it's just your back.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to start working with him, and even just doing one session with him, focusing on like ab stabilization and like pelvis mobility. He was like, oh my gosh, my back pain is so much better. I was like, that's just one session, wait for the next ones.
It's so fun. Like, I think it's so great that you can use Pilates to help people around you, especially the people that you love.
Yes.
It's so meaningful. Like, right. So can you tell me about what the how do you keep motivation going to do Pilates?
Well, trying to keep it as much variation as possible.
Yeah.
And I find that watching other teachers and seeing how they teach and like how they modify exercises, it's like, I don't have to just do this exercise this way. I can change it by doing this and mixing that. And I think as well, like some of the teachers I've spoken to, you have the same clients coming back to you and they don't want to keep doing the same routine every single time.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think just keeping like yourself well educated and getting new ideas from different people, that's what keeps me motivated, because it helps me see, okay, well, you know, Pilates is forever changing and you can make it to fit you or someone else. So yeah, I just try to keep it with as much variation as possible.
That sounds good. So what style of Pilates teacher that you want to become?
I want to become someone who, I guess, motivates people and makes them enjoy it. Like I want people to wake up and go, yes, I have a Pilates class today. Not, oh, I need to exercise. Because so many people do have that. So I want to keep my Pilates classes light and humorous way possible, but also make them very useful so people can actually see and feel the difference.
That's true.
Yeah.
I also know some people, like based on my experience, they only come to Pilates because they heard that Pilates is like helps them for you know, like cope with the pain, and not because like really like or enjoy the movement. So do you have any like tips or advice for people like that?
Come to Pilates, but also take it slow. Like when people have injuries, they think they have to keep up with the whole class, and it's like Pilates is all about do what you can, and if you need to make it easier, make it easier. So like if you're struggling in a class, don't try to keep up with people. Call the teacher and say, I can't do this, how can I make it easier? Because like that's what we're trained in. We're trained to be able to tell you, okay, bend your knees, it'll make it easier, or only lift this high, or you know, so we can tailor it for the individual and not for the majority. And that's why I think Pilates is so special, because you can have a class of people but also make it work for every single different person, and like make it work for their pace and their strength. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is don't try to keep up with the class. Just do what you can. When the teacher says, if that was fine for you, you can make it harder. If it wasn't fine, don't make it harder.
No, that's totally
make
true.
it easier.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So do you have any favorite moves in Pilates that you enjoy?
Some of my favorite ones are actually the more advanced ones.
Yeah.
I just quite like them because they're a little bit more complicated and they quite require more control. I really enjoy the teaser 3.
Yeah.
It's quite a difficult one, but I like that feeling of when I get it right, I'm like, oh yes, I can do it.
Yeah. So some people like really like I don't know, like when it comes to practice, it's quite hard for Pilates to really help, like especially come to like advanced movement. So if it's kind of like, for example, like if I just start something new and it's kind of like a little bit like frustrated for me if I cannot really do advanced thing in the class where everyone else is so good. You know, like, do you have any advice for them in that case?
yeah, people also need to know that everyone's body is different.
Yeah.
Something that someone might do after 2 sessions, you may never be able to do just because of your body type. I mean, some of the moves, because they require, oh, bye-bye, because they require a lot of balance between your upper body and lower body. If you have a short upper body and a lot of weight on your lower body, it's going to be very difficult for you to do it because you're going to be unbalanced. And sometimes it's just your body type. It's nothing that you can change. Don't get frustrated. Just work within what you can do. I mean, some exercises, no matter how strong you are, I will never be able to do because of my body, I can't hold my body that way. So I'd rather just keep trying as much as I can than get frustrated with it and be like, oh my gosh, why can't I do this but everyone else can? Like, it's just about working at your own pace. Do what you can do.
That's so true. I feel already like really motivated. That's
good.
Like, okay, I'm gonna go work now. Okay. So can you tell us about how long? Like, do you have any plan in the future for teaching Pilates? Like, where do you want to settle, or like for teaching Pilates, or like, you know?
Yeah. For now, I'm planning on staying in Hanoi. So probably we'll be here maybe until December if things don't change, or maybe longer, don't know. But I actually want to set up classes. I'm going to put some feelers out on Facebook and see if people have any interest. But I want to try start classes in the morning, afternoon. I found some studios around Teho that I might be able to hire out. So that's next week's journey. I need to start doing all that. But I really do want to try, if possible, to be teaching Pilates full time instead of teaching English here, and doing it maybe like 3-4 sessions a day, 5 times a week if possible. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh, you talk about like you teaching English as well.
Yes.
Do you find like anything similar that help you between like teaching English and teaching Pilates?
This actually came up in the course. I think for me, the one thing is being able to explain things in very simple terms, because I deal with 6-year-olds, so I have to be able to explain it in very so it's helped me to be able to instruct people in a way that they can understand. So I don't just suddenly throw out all of these medical terminologies and people are like, what are you talking about? I have to say, okay, cross your legs, right leg over left leg, sit up straight. So
that's fun too.
Yeah, it's definitely helped a lot.
Did you ever try to teach movement exercise like Pilates, something like that to your kids?
I haven't, but I was really thinking about doing it one of these days, like having a lesson about exercise and how good it is for you, and doing like a mini class with them, like, and seeing if they can do it.
Yeah, definitely should try.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any advice? Like, I don't know. Do you find, how about the food in Hanoi? You enjoyed it?
I do enjoy the food in Hanoi, but I think just because I'm so accustomed to Western food, I have to have it every now and then. So I'm also I'm a vegetarian. So
Hard to find a restaurant?
No, not at all. I find it a lot easier. Like, we lived in Korea the year before last, and there I found it very difficult because they have quite a meat-based diet, and here there's still a lot of places that have like vegan restaurants, and there's like you can get mi zao zao, and like there's lots of vegetable-based things, like even on Vietnamese menus, which is nice.
Do you think that it's hard to keep health, like keep staying healthy in Hanoi or in South Africa? Like, which one is easier, which one is harder?
For me, I find it harder here. Just because, number one, the work hours, you eat dinner very late, and that for me, like, I like to eat a couple of hours before I go to bed. That, and also I find that the fresh foods go off quite quickly here, so you can't like buy lettuce or something and then keep it in the fridge for more than like a couple of days, because then like it starts to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have tips for you. Please,
I'll take any tips.
I keep like the kitchen tissue in the small box. I under and then above the fresh veggie after you wash and cut it. So it's gonna stay like at least for 3-5 days.
That's so clever. I need to start
I don't even know where I
things.
come up with that idea. Yeah, but yeah. So how do you find time to practice Pilates?
At the moment, because I'm working in the evenings, I have the whole morning and afternoon to do Pilates, so it's quite nice.
So do you like work out at home or?
At the moment, yes, just because I don't want to buy any like memberships or anything until I've actually got my own schedule sorted out, so I don't have to try and move everyone else's time around mine. I'd rather have it the other way, whereas like I can set up classes and then make my own time and book sessions or whatever I need to do in that time. But at the moment I'm just practicing at home.
Do you have any like any time in the day that like you might feel it like you don't really want to work out, but then you have to get up to work out at some point, you know?
Yes.
And then how you deal with that?
I sometimes just like say to myself, you just have to do it. I do find that it's easier if you have like a class that you're going to, because even when I was doing the course, we would do a class a day, and because we woke up so early and we were doing the course the whole day and I was working in the evenings, I was absolutely dead. But then like I would do the class and then I'm like, at the beginning of the class I would be so tired of, why am I doing this? But then by the end of it I'm like, oh, I have so much energy, that was so great. And it's just trying to remember like that feeling, so the next time you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, like just remember how you felt the last time after you exercised, and it's like you feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you like have you joined you have joined a lot of Pilates classes in 4 years? So what do you look for in a good teacher?
Someone who's very clear. So you don't really have to look at them unless it's a more complicated exercise. You can kind of go, oh, okay, this is what they want from me. And also someone who's a little bit funny, light-hearted.
Like you?
Yeah. As I don't like doing exercise when I feel like all serious, because also I find Pilates is nice because it keeps your mind in it, but sometimes if your mind wanders, it's nice to have someone like make a little joke and then you're like, ah, ha, ha, okay, bring your mind back to it.
I can see that you can be a very good one. Okay.
Thanks.
So do you have any so like do you set up like do you have like a big room or like just like small room, and then how you set up a place at home that you can practice Pilates?
Yeah, I can't teach at my place because I have a small apartment, but I practice for myself in like our living room area. It's just very small area.
Yeah. So how do you like? So do you have you ever tried like work out anywhere else, not just like the mat or?
What do you mean, like
Like
the
on
upper?
the bed, on the couch, or anyone else?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Have you?
Sometimes.
Wow.
Like when I'm just like lazy, if I just like have to like work on the phone a lot, or sometimes I just like okay, I sit a lot and just like try to cope up with. Yeah, that's it.
That's
yes.
very clever.
So you have practiced a lot at home. So you do a lot of like YouTube videos or.
I just kind of try and practice what a class would be like, so it's like I'm teaching myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Also for me, I think my biggest challenge is knowing how many exercises to do to keep within that hour. So it's a nice way to practice, and then you can check and go, ooh, I probably should have done like 3 less exercises, or I need to do 5 more to make it longer. And it's a nice way to like improvise as well, because you don't want to be stuck there and go, oh my gosh, it's 10 minutes too, and I still have 10 minutes and I don't know what to do.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any favorite teacher, like Pilates teacher?
Well, I loved my teacher who did the training. Her name is Ari. She's from Israel. She's fantastic. She's got like 20 years of experience in Pilates, and she's so knowledgeable, and she's so approachable. she's just, oh, she's fantastic. I loved her. I actually really looked forward to doing the classes because I knew that it would be a good workout, but she also just did it in such a nice way that it didn't feel like effort. It felt like you were just like doing each movement, going on to the next one. It wasn't like, oh, what am I doing next?
So what the best thing like in the technique that you learned from her? If you want to share.
Flow. I think one of the best things I learned from her is how to flow a class. So you're not doing one exercise and then like, change. It's like she moves them really nicely from one exercise into the next one. And even just the transitions, like going from sitting to standing to lying, like she does it so nicely. It's not just like, okay, sit down.
If someone has some injury, like for example, like back pain or like neck pain or something like that, so do you have any exercise that you can suggest people
to do?
Yeah.
Stretching is always a good one, because I find a lot of people have pain because the muscles are too tight. So stretching is good, and lower back pain, any core stabilization is a must, because so many people have that posture where like their lower back is very arched, and it's just from the way we sit, like everything here is all flexed up. So yeah, the core stabilization will really help to draw everything back to where it's supposed to be, and just stretching any muscles that you can feel are tight. Because believe me, a lot of people will like move their neck and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that hurts.
How to stretch right? Like for example, in this couch, can you show people?
Yeah. Well, let's just take neck pain for example. So just make sure you're sitting up nice and straight.
Yeah.
Any direction that you stretch, unless you're doing rotation, you want to keep your ears in line with your shoulders, so you're not turning like this to stretch. So side stretching like this, up to the ceiling, ears aligned, so you're not going like this.
But then I have to look at you all the time. How can I do with that?
Then
okay.
So the main thing is, if you ever want to do a stretch, you have to have the correct posture to start with.
Yeah.
So it's just like if you stretch your legs, you can't be like let's say you want to stretch your hamstrings and you're standing up and you want to bend over. You can't bend over to the side, because then you're not stretching your hamstrings, you're stretching the outside of your legs. So you have to have the right starting position to have the right stretch or the right strengthening. And I think that's what a lot of people really struggle with, because they'll think, oh no, I am standing up straight. It's no, you're not.
So do you have any tips for people? Because normally some people don't really can't really aware of their body, like how they feel, like how is wrong or how is right position. So you have any advice for them?
Use a mirror. Yeah, you won't know until you actually see it, or ask someone, say, are my feet straight? Is my chin sticking out? And then they can say to you, pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. Like, oh, okay, cool, great. I know even for me, I have a very slight head tilt, like I tilt my head slightly, and I never notice until I have to take like an ID photo or something, and then they come to me and they go, and I'm like, oh. Oops. And I've actually practiced, like I'll go brush my teeth, look in the mirror and go, oh, okay.
That's very
yeah. Body awareness comes from practice, being able to see what's wrong, or having someone actually tell you and correct you. And it's never going to get better if you don't actually practice what you need to correct. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest thing, is knowing what is wrong and then practicing on correcting it. So ask for help, guys. Please.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much for such a great conversation with you. I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, and see you next time with the next conversation.